When asked to imagine a Buddha, a few images may come to mind. Siddhartha Gautama, the historical founder of Buddhism, in quiet meditation. Or the chubby and smiling Buddhai found at the entrance of Asian markets and restaurants around the globe. But in visiting a Buddhist temple, you would be forgiven for wondering who the dozens of different figures greeting you are. Are they all Buddha? The answer is yes and no, because Buddha is not a name. It is a title, meaning enlightened one. And since Buddhism teaches that all beings can reach enlightenment, anyone can become a Buddha with enough cultivation. Now, some beings take this one step further. A Bodhisattva lives by a vow to dedicate their existence to helping others to reach enlightenment. And the stories of these Bodhisattvas are countless, but they all share a focus on improving others' lives. And one of the greatest tools in this goal is compassion. As the Tibetan master Shabkar said, "If a man has compassion, he is Buddha. Without compassion, he is Lord of Death. With compassion, the root of Dharma is planted. Without compassion, the root of Dharma is rotten. One with compassion is kind even when angry. One without compassion kills even as he smiles. With compassion, one has all dharmas. Without compassion, one has no dharma at all. Cultivate compassion, and you will attain Buddhahood." It is no wonder then that the image of Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva of compassion, will be one greeting you at so many Buddhist temples. Stories tell of countless lifetimes in which Avalokiteshvara becomes incarnate to spread compassion. And we will glimpse into 3 of those incarnations today, and even this brief look will show the great power of compassion, and why this Bodhisattva is one of the most widely revered in the world. My name is Sean. Welcome to Mythos and Logos. The Bodhisattva of compassion is known by many names. In India, you might encounter the male figure by the name of Avalokiteshvara, whose name literally means one who looked down upon sound. In China, you will most likely meet a female Buddha named Guan Yin, meaning perceiver of sound. All across Asia, stories are told of the heavenly being who listens to the sounds of the world below, hearing cries of suffering and meeting them with compassion. Now, the differences in name and presentation across cultures should not be taken as a sign of disagreement, though. In the Lotus Sutra, one of the most famous Buddhist texts, the Buddha tells a disciple of Avalokiteshvara's many forms, "If there are living beings in the land who need someone in the body of a Buddha in order to be saved, Bodhisattva perceiver of the world's sounds immediately manifests himself in a Buddha body and preaches the law for them. If they need a voice hearer to be saved, immediately he becomes a voice hearer. If they need a rich man to be saved, immediately he becomes a rich man. If they need a monk, a nun, a layman believer, or a laywoman believer, a young boy or a young girl, a dragon, a yaksha, a gandharva, a kimnara, a human, or a non-human being to be saved, immediately he becomes all of these and preaches the law for them." Listen to the actions of the perceiver of sounds, how aptly he responds in various quarters. His vast oath is as deep as the ocean. Throughout the lands in the 10 directions, there is no region where he does not manifest himself. In evil circumstances, in the realms of hell, hungry spirits or beasts, the sufferings of birth, old age, sickness, and death, all of these he bit by bit wipes out. This is a powerful message, and it tells how there is always and everywhere a place for compassion. We can see this in the image of the 10-headed, 1,000-armed Avalokiteshvara. 10 faces are turned to listen in every direction, the 8 directions of the compass, plus above and below, and 1,000 arms reach out to approach and meet every situation with compassion. The arms may hold a lotus flower symbolizing growth out of suffering, or an overturned jug pouring out water like blessings, or any number of other symbols. But in either case, it is clear that compassion has a place in the highest heavens, the lowest hells, and all across the earth. But as we shall see, compassion can appear in many different ways. We have already heard how Avalokiteshvara listens to the cries of the world, and it is true that simply listening to another's suffering can be a great act of compassion, sometimes all one needs. But if you ask their devotees, you will hear stories in which Avalokiteshvara takes on a more active role as well. See, as an enlightened being, they are able to transcend an existence of suffering, but choose not to, instead taking the Bodhisattva vow to help all beings attain enlightenment. Now, those unfamiliar with Buddhism, for a parallel, might imagine a saint vowing not to enter heaven until helping others to do the same, for a rough match to this idea. One popular story tells of Avalokiteshvara in a heavenly realm, hearing the suffering of the world below and crying. And as those tears fall to earth, they take form and take on life, and are called Tara. Stories of Tara are common across East Asia, where the Bodhisattva path is especially revered. They can be mythical, like the story of an ancient princess whose father forbade her from prayer, and when he attacked the monastery that she had joined, she sacrificed herself and vowed to reach enlightenment in a female form, becoming incarnate as Tara. Or they can be down to earth, like the stories told by Tibetan travelers of a young girl who aids the weary. Only when she performs tasks well beyond the strength of grown men do they recognize her divinity. Now, in any case, the stories of Tara are stories of compassion, reaching out to aid those in need. And these many manifestations of Tara from the teardrops of Avalokiteshvara have led to her honorary title, Mother of all Buddhas. And together, they grant us a fuller image of the virtue of compassion. A well-known prayer tells of 21 such manifestations. Homage to Tara, swift and gallant, who banishes fear, who fulfills every need, whose glance flashes like flares of lightning, born on the heart of a blossoming lotus that rose from the tears of the triple world's Lord. You embody generosity, diligence, endurance, serenity, patience, and meditation. Homage to Ture, the fearsome lady, destroyer of the most powerful demons. Smiling and laughing with Tutare, you bring demons and worlds under control. You clear away nightmares, soothe away strife. One of the most common images of Tara shows her in a meditation pose, but with one foot reaching down, linking this prayer to visible action. And each action, like each of Tara's many forms, is founded in compassion. The prayer of one Tibetan master tells of the realization that all of these forms, from the patient and the serene to the destroyer of demons, are all united in mindful awareness. This is the awareness of suffering in our lives and the lives of others, just as Avalokiteshvara is aware, listening to the suffering of the world. Stories of Avalokiteshvara spread across cultures in Asia with varying presentations. The Bodhisattva is typically male in India, but worshipped with the female Tara across the Tibetan plateau. Further east in China, Korea, and Vietnam, a typically female form, going by many names by region but often called the Goddess of Mercy, is found. And while this form typically has at least 33 incarnations, we will focus on one of the most recurring images, that of Avalokiteshvara, known in China as Guan Yin, pictured with moonlight reflecting on the water. The stories behind the image vary. Sometimes a lone seeker journeys across land and sea to a secluded island in order to seek enlightenment. And in another popular version, a beautiful, silent woman arrives in a kingdom at war. Suitors try to determine if she's from some noble background, while others try to determine her purpose in coming to the war-torn kingdom. Yet the woman only smiles and silently resumes her work, saying silent prayers and gathering small stones from the side of a lake. Only on 2 occasions does she speak. To an elderly woman who asks the purpose of her prayers, she answers that she is praying for relief to the people suffering from the civil war. And to an elderly man who realizes that she is an incarnation of Avalokiteshvara and asks her to reveal her true form, she directs him to the tower she is building with the stones and asks him to look at the lake in the middle of the night. Word spreads throughout the kingdom, and that evening, not just the old man, but the entire city arrives at the lakeside to see the promised wonder. As the woman is in her tower, the moon appears from behind the clouds. Its light reflects on the water, and above that reflection appears the true form of Avalokiteshvara. The people, amazed at the sight and feeling the true presence of the Goddess of Mercy in the image, instantly end their war. This is only one story of lives being changed by an encounter with compassion. Chinese tradition tells of at least 33 manifestations of Avalokiteshvara in the form of Guan Yin, and even the water moon form has its multiple accounts. But whether the Bodhisattva is encountered by a gathered kingdom or a lone wanderer, whether she is seen in the gentle moonlight on the water or taming a majestic dragon, every story tells of the changes that come from one who learns to see compassion in unexpected places. So let us return to the opening question. What does a Buddha look like? A quiet man meditating under a tree? A chubby, joyful wanderer? Or a thousand-armed god? Perhaps a young girl in the mountains, showing kindness to a stranger? Or can a Buddha be seen in the moonlight reflecting on the water of a quiet lake at night? Through myths and legends from across Asia, we can see many faces of a Buddha, and with them, many paths that we can follow. Whether one's mind is a kingdom at war with itself, or is a seeker wandering in search of truth. Whether we are reaching out to help others, or simply taking the time to earnestly listen to their sorrows. These stories teach us the ways that compassion can guide us. These manifestations, so varied, show that there is a place for compassion, no matter where we find ourselves. And simply recognizing it can be a step in the direction of a better life.